What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to another video. So it's a little sad to be making this video, but hopefully we all get to this point. This is my What I've Learned in 30 Years video, and I'm just going over kind of 8 tips that maybe I would have told myself when I was 20. That's kind of how I wanted to approach this video, because I started making this really long list and it just became, it would have been like a 2-hour video. So I decided to break it down into just a couple tips of advice that I would have given myself if I was at 20 years old. I'm definitely not happy with where I'm at in life, but I don't want to give away too much. But there's a lot of things that I have to look forward to right now. So don't worry about me too much. I've been through a huge rough patch the past couple of months, and I'm kind of coming out of that, and I feel like I'm kind of re-energized. I've got some really big goals that I'm working towards, and I'm really excited about a lot of things that are going on. But anyways, I got about 8 tips here. So the first thing, you really do forget what it's like to be younger. I can remember so many times when I was a kid, or even when I was in high school, and my parents or other adults would say certain things, and I would be like, don't you know what it's like to be my age? You were this age once, you know? And I thought it was so funny. Like, I would get irritated, but I'd also find it so amusing. You've been this age before. You know exactly what it's like. Why are you acting so clueless? And now I kind of understand. You really do forget what it's like to be younger, and I think that's so funny. So one of the things that kind of made me realize this is, I actually got into it with someone on Facebook who's like 10 years younger than me, and she posted about something that was like really big when I was in like middle school, and I posted something along the lines of saying that she wouldn't really know about that or something like that. It was just a sarcastic little remark. It was not meant to be mean or rude in any way, but she really took offense to it. And at first I just kind of rolled my eyes, and I'm kind of like, okay, that's kind of a silly thing to make an issue out of. But once I thought about it, I was the same way when I was her age. In the exact same way. Nothing, maybe not nothing, but it felt like nothing irritated me more than someone older reminding me how young I was. I hated that because it made me feel like they were dismissing me or telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about because I was younger than them. I mean, you know, of course, obviously, it kind of depends on the context, but I really didn't like it. It would get under my skin a lot. But yeah, when that conversation happened, I completely forgot about that. And it was so funny to sit there and think about how many times I would actually get irritated about this stuff when I was in my early to mid-teens. And now at 28, 29, 30, it's like that concept is just completely lost on me now. And I kind of wish like I had an answer. I wish I knew how to prevent that. I think like it's your own life. How do you forget it? But I don't know. You move on and you kind of live in the moment. And I think you don't really think that much about the past except when you're reminiscing or talking to friends. So aside from those moments, you don't really think about your past all that much. I think you just kind of keep going. So I think maybe that's part of the reason, but I was kind of surprised. I always told myself when I was a kid that I would not be that person, and here I am, that person. My next piece of advice is a bit hard to follow, but don't let your emotions keep you from cutting toxic people out of your life. This can be friends, this can be people you're in a relationship with. But that's the problem. Your emotions get in the way. And when you see those red flags, when you see those warning signs, you don't want to think about those things. You want to think about how you feel. You want to think about, well, I don't like that, or that seems like it could be an issue in the future, but I enjoy spending time with this person. And there's been a couple of specific situations where I have seen red flags, and I have been unhappy about how someone treated me, but for whatever reason, I just chose to kind of ignore those things, and of course, in the end, it didn't work out well. Yeah, it might have made me feel a little bit better in the moment, but it just wasn't worth all of the headache and the drama later on. If you're seeing warning signs, if you see that someone in your life is being toxic to you, it is okay to distance yourself. Now that being said, there have been times when people have distanced themselves from me over things that I thought were completely petty. But your life is your life. If you want to make that call, that's your place to make that call. So the point is, if your gut instinct is telling you that something is wrong, don't ignore that. And certainly don't overlook those red flags just because you like hanging out with somebody. It might make you feel better for a little while, but in the long run, it's going to bite you. Next tip. Learning how to do things on your own can save you so much time and money. I'm actually kind of going through this like self-education journey right now with learning how to do things. Part of it has to do with something I'm building, so that's kind of where a lot of this interest has taken place. I've never owned my own home. I've never really been in a situation where I've had to fix things, and I've also just never really had that kind of natural interest that a lot of people have in that kind of thing. But if you're willing to learn, then you gotta try. It really can save you so much time and money in the long run. Even just simple things. For example, there's a lot of other things on my vehicle I'd like to learn how to do. Here lately, all I've been doing is like changing my headlights and brake lights and, simple stuff like that. But even that makes a difference. Just even aside from the money, I mean, because those appointments aren't really that expensive, but even aside from the money, it's the time. I don't want to have to spend time to make an appointment and go in and sit there and wait even though I'm there on time. It's just so frustrating. So there's a couple more things I'd like to learn to do on my car, but the stuff I'm building, I've got literal textbooks that I'm going over. So hopefully in a few months, I will actually be able to tell you how to do some of this stuff. So I am actually working on that myself, but I kind of wish I dedicated myself to this level of learning several years ago, but live and learn, that's where I'm at. I do think that it's important to learn as much as you can about how to fix things and how to do things. It's just really good to take some initiative in that area. Next tip, prioritize living life on your own terms. Now, this is kind of one of those things you have to pretty much figure out for yourself. So I think this is definitely one thing that looks different for everybody, and it's something you kind of have to figure out on your own. You really can't have somebody else tell you. A lot of people will want to give you advice and tell you what you should prioritize at all times above everything else, but that's really up to you to decide. For my situation right now, I'm not really happy with how I've been living. So I've been looking at a lot of different things that I can do. I'm educating myself on a lot of different things, like I mentioned, but not just on learning how to fix things, but also other opportunities. I would really be interested in something that allows me to travel, whether that means I'm self-employed or what. I'm really open to almost anything at this point. I'm just really tired of how my life has been. I'm tired of kind of feeling like I'm in a constant state of desperation, feeling like I'm not living how I want to. It seems like all the time I'm just making compromises for work, which would be one thing if my work provided everything I needed in life, but it's not that kind of work. So something's got to give. So I've kind of made I kind of want to tell you also about what I got going on, but I'm gonna regret it if it falls through. I'm kind of anxious, but I've made a decision. There's certain things in my life that I have absolutely put off for a variety of reasons, and I'm just not gonna do that anymore. So obviously I can't just drop everything and just go do everything I want to do tomorrow. But I do have a plan in place. I've got some major goals set, and I've got a plan that's accomplishable to meet those goals. So I'm really excited. I am going to change how I'm living, and I'm going to prioritize doing what I want to do in life, because life is short, and you keep putting stuff off, you might never get the chance to actually go do that. So really think about that. If there's something that you're putting off, if there's something that you're kind of making excuses as to why you can't get to it yet, just think. That next time you could be making an excuse, you could instead be making a plan to fix that and actually go do what you want to go do. And that thought is very much tied to my next tip, which is don't let anybody tell you what you want out of life. It is okay to want something that is totally different than what your family wants, than what other people want for you, than what other people expect from you. Those things are all totally fine. And I think it's really important to accept that. And the thing is, whether you're asking for advice or not, a lot of people are going to want to give you advice. And sometimes it's going to be welcome, sometimes it's not. But so many people who have found something in their life that makes them happy are convinced that that's what everyone else should be doing, and everyone else is just missing out if they don't go live their lives exactly that way. And I understand the passion, don't get me wrong. If you are living a lifestyle that you are happy with, that you find enriching, that is great. That is wonderful. I am not trying to look down on that in any way, but I find that so many people take that and then use that to tell other people you should be doing exactly what I'm doing. Don't fall into that trap. If someone else wants to tell you about something that's really great that doesn't actually interest you that much, that's okay. We're all individuals. It's okay to have different interests than your neighbors or your relatives, your closest family members, your friends. Live life on your own terms. It's your life, and you're the only one who can decide what you want to do with it. Next one is a big one. Take health issues seriously. And by this, I don't just mean eating and exercising right. I could do a little better in that department. I was out of the gym for a while because I was very sick for several months. I've just now started going back, but I haven't really gotten back on track quite yet with my diet. So I'll get there eventually, but that's not the only thing I'm talking about. One issue that I've had that I kind of feel like I've always had is, instead of recognizing when my body is telling me that it's under too much stress or that I've hurt myself somehow, I kind of just power through. And the thing is, that can have some devastating consequences. There's nothing wrong with work ethic. There's nothing wrong with trying to, be tough. I get it. And sometimes you feel something that feels like it might not be that big of a deal. But if you can't figure out what it is, it's okay. You should see somebody about it. And of course, I understand when it comes to healthcare costs, that is an issue as well. I think the healthcare situation in this country is so sad. I think it's so discouraging that so many people have to worry about healthcare costs. Myself very much included. I do not make a lot of money. So I understand putting off what you might need health-wise for those reasons, but there have been many times when I would have been able to go see a doctor and I was in a lot of pain for this or that reason, and instead of going and seeing someone and getting it resolved a lot faster, I just made myself suffer for no reason. But another thing that I haven't really thought about is, sometimes if your body's telling you that something's wrong, it could be a signal of something that's way more serious. So that's why I think it's really important to get to a doctor when you're in a pain that you've never experienced before or that you can't quite explain. You're not sure what's causing it. What's causing it could be something serious. What's causing it could be something that you need immediate attention for. So don't let anybody tell you that you're being too sensitive. If you're feeling pain, it's a signal of something. Now, that's a signal of something that's minor, that's okay too. But if you're not sure, it could always be a sign of something more serious. So just take your health seriously. It's not a joke. If you don't have your health, you don't got anything. So, like I said, obviously healthcare costs are something that are devastating to a lot of us, and I realize that. But if you are in a situation where you can get to a doctor and there is something you need to see a doctor about, please go. Okay, next one. So this is kind of related to another one that I mentioned earlier. Develop a sense of discernment and learn how to tell when you're being given bad advice. So it's kind of related to that whole thing I said earlier about people telling you what you should want out of life. Well, aside from what you want out of life, people are going to give you all kinds of advice about career, about relationships, about what you should do with your money, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, they're not the ones who have to face the consequences of those decisions. So again, it's kind of a matter of that piece of advice might work for their life, but it doesn't work for your life, or it doesn't work for your particular situation, or whatever you're going through at the time. And a lot of people are very easily influenced. I haven't been in this situation too many times, but there have been times when I've taken advice and it was just like, I knew that wasn't right for me. What was I thinking? Why did I do that? That wasn't a good decision to make. But because you see someone in your life that you maybe have a lot of respect for, or is just very well intentioned giving you this advice, you just want to take it and run with it. But just because someone you care about is giving you advice, it doesn't mean you need to do everything that they advise you to do. It's okay to follow your own instincts, and anytime anyone gives you advice, you've really got to use discernment and determine if you should actually apply that to your life. And the last one is this: Handle your issues instead of letting your issues handle you. This is again one of those that I think is just way easier said than done, but it again comes down to, I think, discernment. And when I say issues, that could be any issues. I'm mainly talking about mental health, but it could be anything. If there is anything in your life that is overwhelming you, that is a burden to you, what do you need to change to fix it? Do you need to get rid of that main source of frustration, or are there other things going on in your life that are really what the problem is? And I think you've got to learn how to kind of analyze yourself and think about, okay, I'm clearly unable to handle what's going on right now, but the important question to ask is why? Why can't you handle it? Are you overwhelmed by your schedule? Okay, what can you change about it? Do you have too many obligations? Is there something that you need to drop? Or if it is a matter of your mental health, well, you find yourself overreacting to things or being unable to handle stress well like you used to. Do you need to see a therapist? Or are there kind of some things that you can do in terms of self-care, so to speak, to kind of help you overcome those things? For example, my own mental health, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail, but with a lot of the health issues I had this past December and January, around the same time I started developing these weird phobias, and it didn't make any sense, and I'm still trying to work through them, and it's just very, very bizarre. And right now what I'm doing is kind of working, and I'm slowly making progress, but if at any point I do reverse, I want to go talk to somebody, because I don't understand the connection. I mean, I feel like it has to be related to my original health problem, which was an infection on the back of my scalp, by the way. Did it affect my brain somehow? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But the point is, I'm doing what I can to resolve the issue. But if it gets out of control, if it gets to a point where I feel like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore, I'm really not okay, then I have no problem going and reaching out and asking for help. If you see something that's an issue in your life, don't be ashamed to do what you have to do to deal with it. No one knows your own life better than you do. So if you see something that's becoming a problem, whether it's a mental health issue or something else, recognize it as a problem and figure out why it's a problem. Figure out what you can do about it. And if you can't figure it out on your own, then reach out for help. There are a lot of resources out there, so I would definitely encourage you, if you feel like you're really struggling with something that you can't quite seem to get a handle on, that you can't get a grip on, definitely look to what resources are available in your area. And from there, just kind of find out what your options are in terms of overcoming that problem and dealing with what the issue is, instead of letting that issue take over your life. So that's all I have for this video. In 30 years, those are the pieces of advice that I would give myself if I were 20. I'm really not looking forward to my what I've learned in 40 years video, but I've got a little bit of time to enjoy before then. Thank you so much for watching.